Hi, Emily. Welcome to the True Essence podcast. First of all, I want to thank you to be here and share your knowledge and wisdom with us. And for all the beautiful souls that are listening to today, to this podcast, to this episode, will you share a little bit more about you and what you do?
Yes, thank you, Janine. I'm so grateful to be invited by you, and I'm very excited for this conversation. I'm calling myself a cosmic priestess these days, a cosmic priestess, channel and healer, which is maybe as we go along in this conversation, it will become clearer why. But I seem to be walking the initiatory path of a priestess, which I've done in many lifetimes. And I have many cosmic connections, and it's part of my role here to help people in their healing awakening journeys, this process of ascension, this crazy process of ascension, to return to their hearts. And I'm here to help guide them through this process as bringing my multidimensional abilities that we'll discuss to really help others heal and evolve.
Wow, that's so beautiful. And I got to experience a lot of your magic, which we are going to talk about in the process of this podcast a little bit more about. But the question I always ask, the first question I always ask is, when did you hear it first? The calling of the heart or the calling of the soul? Because we all have that point in our life. Sometimes we don't, but most of us do, where we feel like we want more, but not in an egoic way, in a deeper soul or heart level way, if that makes sense.
It does make sense. It really does make sense. And it's very interesting because I can probably think of key stages in my journey where I felt more of a call. But actually, I remember even as a child feeling really different, and there was more to life and something was calling me, and I didn't seem to fit in very well. I remember when I was a child in the playground, very young, I'm talking like, I don't know, 6, 7 years old maybe, running up to other children and telling them I love them. And so when a child is so full of joy, and I just sort of hug them and go, I love you. And then, that did not go down well. And I remember thinking, why don't they like that? I don't understand. Why are they like not only not liking it, but like, treating me quite cruelly for that? And it was that point early on, I felt like there's something different here, And I went through, like probably a lot of people listening who are sensitive and starseeds and on this awakening journey, very highly sensitive, and that you don't fit in. That's kind of a common theme. And it was quite interesting because I actually grew up in a very Christian family. And my dad actually was the leader of the church. So he was like, it was a modern church. He was like a pastor, you might say. He didn't call himself that. He called himself an elder. But so I was very immersed from a very early age in modern Christianity, which had its benefits and its not so helpful qualities. So there's a lot of wisdom, like there are in a lot of the religions, that when you really go to the heart of it, there is a lot of beauty and wisdom. But obviously we know a lot's been distorted and manipulated and lots been removed. And so I was immersed in this, and obviously my dad was the leader, so it had a big influence on me. And I also remember, so growing up from as a child all the way up to 18 years old in this environment, and feeling again not fitting in. And everyone around me seemed to be loving this whole experience of church. And I remember when I especially went into my teenage years, I had sort of this crisis, because I would sit and cry and to God, like, why am I not feeling this? Why am I not experiencing this personal relationship with you? It feels very detached. And I was not satisfied with that. And I'd ask my dad and I'd ask the other leaders, I feel like I need to know God. I feel like I need to know that experience for myself. And this doesn't feel like that to me. And they'll say, well, it's just faith. You've got to have, that's the word and you've just got to follow it. And I was like, no, not really feeling it. And so I got really disillusioned by the whole thing. And but it was obviously there was a lot of heart, you know, the teachings of Christ. There was that always stayed with me, and essentially is really what I'm coming to know as Christ consciousness really was always there, I feel. And that's what I took from it, the beauty and the gift of it I took. But I had to do a lot in my later years to really heal the woundings around that experience and really decondition and deprogram myself from the dogmatic side of that. And really also the part of that of giving my power away to an authority outside of myself and see has got, you know, the whole separation involved with that. And so all this time my soul was calling me. You know, all this time I was feeling the call. So I can't pinpoint one point. But then when I left school and left the church and went to university, you know, I forgot about all of this stuff like many people do, and I just went my own way. I didn't really forget. I would always say I was kind of into personal growth and transformation, you know, that kind of thing. But I wasn't actively following a spiritual path at all. And I didn't realize it until much later. I was actually a lot of the time younger in a lot of trauma responses and a lot of pain and wounding. And obviously, like a lot of people, we act out of that and our lives just fall into this sort of conditioned way of being, and we don't know any different. And then, of course, as more and more people now are realizing that we sort of are waking up from that illusion, from that delusion. And so it wasn't till much later, I would say, maybe about 20 years ago, that and I'm 50 now. So when I was about 30, I started really feeling more of a call. And I think it was because there was a lot of more information coming out. Like there was that movie, The Secret, and, you know, all that kind of stuff, which was more about the law of attraction at that time, that kind of bridged spirituality with the self-development aspect. And it was kind of needed at that time, I think, because it helped people suddenly feel that they had the power to create their reality. And it suddenly was a real shift from this outward looking perspective to an inward perspective. And so I sort of followed along with that for a while. But then something did really flip for me. There was a real turning point. I was going sort of along this path. And then in around 2017, I just started to have this dramatic awakening experience that was totally like through me. And something must have been happening in the stars or something at that point, because it was like this point where, you know, there's the point of no return.
Yeah.
So, you know, when you start to open up to realizing you're much more than you think you are. And I know that people say that and people think, oh yeah, well, there's more to us, we're more, but they don't really know it. There comes a point where you actually realize and you go, oh, we are much more than we think we are. Oh, there's so much more going on. And I started to open up to psychic vision and see all sorts of energies. I would have like crazy experiences that I had no context for, no reference point for. And I was kind of opening up to my mediumship abilities and my channeling abilities. And I didn't know that at the time. All I know is like I was thrown crown chakra deep in the, you know, into this initiation and this process of awakening. And it was, to be honest, very, very deeply challenging. But that was the point where I really knew that my path was not going to be the same again. And I was actually here to walk the path of the mystic and the path of the spiritual leader. And I embarked upon several years, so up till now, and I'm still going. I'm not all sorted. I'm not this, you know, I've got it all sorted and I'm perfect. I'm still going through the challenges, but I've obviously learned a lot, and that has been a deeply enriching experience, because that whole journey has led me home to my true calling and what I'm here to be and do in the world. And so often when we go through these quite challenging awakening processes, it's always for a reason. And not everyone goes through that path. I think part of that is what a lot of healers go through, because there's a lot of, we have to heal to bring our gifts to others. So the path of the priestess, the path of the shaman, you know, is very similar. We can have these, have to go through these experiences to learn about things and develop the strength, develop the fortitude, develop the openness to our gifts, and do all the sort of healing of the witch wound and all of that, so we can really bring through this pure, clear energy and anchor our lights and be a contribution. And really it's about being of service. And I suddenly realized, my soul is calling me into service, and for a very specific time, because this is the time of, you know, huge shifts in consciousness. And like you, Janine, you're here exactly with me at the same time, because we're here for something special. We're here to bring something unique. And I'm sure anyone listening to this will be the same, because they wouldn't be listening to this if they weren't feeling a call, or feeling at least something inside that they know they're here for a reason, but even if they don't know what that is, and it's confusing, you know, there's no mistakes made. We all chose to be here at this time, and it's becoming more and more evident why as we see such dramatic inner and outer changes happening.
Wow.
So it's quite a long answer to your question, but I hope that shines some light on it.
That was one of the most moving answers I ever heard. Thank you for sharing this with us. And I'm sure, like you said, a lot of souls can relate or feel into what you shared with us. So thank you for my.
Well, I hope so, because I think it's important to bring messages of challenge, because I didn't have that when I was going through this. I didn't have anyone lead me through it or mentor me through it. And you can really, often when you're looking at social media or reading stuff, you can think it's just all pure love and light and rainbows and unicorns, and that we have we wake up and it's just like, the angels. Sorry. You know, but some, you know, that is part of the experience, but it's not all of the experience, and it doesn't happen like that for everyone. And I think it's really important to be real and to be honest, because if someone had said that to me when I was going through it, I would feel a great amount of relief and like, oh, someone gets it and I'm not the only one. So I think it's important to share these experiences.
So important. And I bet a lot of souls will feel this. Thank you so much. So, but when did you realize that the heart plays an important role in this whole awakening thing? I mean, you work with heart coherence and heart math. Would you share a little bit more about these topics with us?
Yes, I would love to. And it's quite an interesting journey. My awakening process has really been an awakening through the heart. And as I journey on, I'm realizing more and more why that is so important. And at the time when I discovered HeartMath, I didn't have any of this inkling. But my journey into the heart, or back to the heart, I'm trying to think of when that happened. It was when I was going through the whole trauma healing aspect of my journey. And that was really important, actually. You know, a lot of us have experienced trauma, and when we're in trauma or running from trauma patterns, we can really be very disconnected from our hearts and our bodies. And so through going through quite a long journey of healing from CPTSD and working with a trauma therapist, and going through, for my process was really using somatic, experiencing that as a journey. So really going through a somatic process of healing trauma. The more I did that, and the more I was able to come back home to my body. And as I came back home to my body, I came back home to my heart. And it was almost like my heart was calling me home. You know, I didn't go seeking it so much. I didn't learn something outside that was like, oh, you need to learn about heart stuff. It was like, oh, there's something within that is needing to be felt and experienced here. And so as I started to heal from trauma, and I started to learn meditation practices, I started just to sit in my heart And the heart math actually came after, not before. So as I started to meditate and I started to be able to experience what it was like to be in my body, you know, I met all the pain that was starting to meet all the pain that was here, and including the pain in my heart. And it became a really central part of my practice to just sit in the heart. And I kind of thought, oh, this is interesting. As I'm really coming into my heart center, I'm able to be in much more neutral witness to all this stuff that's arising, all the density, you might say, the density that we hold as we descend more into our bodies and we can come into our heart space. It's like that is like this central point of pure neutrality where we can start to witness what is coming out without getting hooked into those old stories. And so I just gradually sort of learnt this for myself. And I think it must have been something that I deeply knew from other lifetimes that was just coming back into remembrance. And then I came across HeartMath, and just, you know, their message is wonderful about bringing more heart consciousness, more heart energy to the world through heart coherence. And I won't go into all what that means because that's could be a whole podcast in itself. So if anyone's interested in HeartMath, you know, go to the HeartMath website. I'd really recommend it, or look it up on YouTube, because essentially when we do slow breathing in and out through the heart space, we come into this state of coherence, which is where on multi levels at once we come into harmony. So, and harmony is sort of another word for coherence. And so I came across HeartMath and I discovered that they were doing a trauma healing aspect of their training, which was something like the trauma sensitive HeartMath program. And I thought, oh yes, let's do that, because that would fit in with my trauma healing journey and my journey into the heart. So I did that, and I found that really deeply enriching. And I journeyed deeper into my heart through doing this practice. And it was kind of like I was gradually going through this like a tunnel back and back and back to my true essence. It's like a journey back and back and back through all the old stories, woundings, pains, traumas, back to the pure essence. And I'm still doing that because it's a, you know, it's not a journey with an ending, I don't think, as we're here in this human experience. And so as I've become deeper and deeper into my heart and combine that with the heart math techniques, I feel like I'm able to really go into what I'm now calling sort of my central intelligence system. And it's like this, I feel really the heart is like an ancient technology, it is our technology, is that we don't realize we have within us. And so as I come back deeper into my heart, there's so much I could say about this, Janine. There's so much I could say. I'm going, where do I go with this? But essentially, it's coming back to your pure essence, your source essence, your pure connection as source that you are, that we are an emanation of through the heart center. And the heart math is beautiful as a tool to restore harmony on lots of levels. So for example, they will use it for performance and for improving memory and increasing your well-being by lowering your stress hormones and balancing your immune system and all of that kind of stuff, which is all incredible. So on a purely physiological level, it's amazing. It's an amazing tool for people to use, but it goes so much deeper than that. And heart math recognize this as well, that when we go into our heart space and we really center there, we not only bring harmony into our bodies, but we emanate it through our energy fields, and we create this state of coherence or harmony that is measurable for our heart field, our electromagnetic field, which is huge. It's vastly huge, and it extends like this big donut around our bodies, and it's several feet from our bodies. And so when we take the time to enter our heart and come into more harmony within, we emanate that harmony around us. And that sort of brings that to everyone who comes into contact with us. And so it's a beautiful, beautiful way of not only deepening your own presence to your soul wisdom, your body wisdom, but also bringing more love to the world and more of that energy we all want to see more of in the world. Well, I'd like to see more of that in the world.
Me too. Wow. Thank you so much for sharing all of your wisdom. Um, so you practiced heart coherence, and at one point you created a meetup group which you called the Heart Haven. Would you tell us a little bit more about the impulse to create this group, or the calling of creating this meetup group, which I got to experience a couple of times by now, and it's one of the most magical experiences one could have. So for all the beautiful souls who are listening, I will put the link in the bio. And if you feel like joining the Heart Haven every Tuesday, you can click on the link.
Thank you, Janine. Thank you. Yes, and it's lovely having your heart presence in the group. So actually, I started the Heart Haven, about a year ago. So we're in February 2024 now. So in February 2023. So it's a year anniversary today, or this month. And I felt the calling from everything I've just said, essentially, thinking this is so important. This is so vitally important. And so I didn't know it at the time, because it's evolved a lot since then. It started off really, this was before I started speaking light language, and before I had all the revelations of my cosmic heritage and all of this stuff. It was just a pure desire to share this with others, you know, bring more heart energy to the world. And so yes, it started off as a pure sort of heart math combined. It's never been purely heart math, but it was wanting to help people feel safer in their bodies, feel more centered, grounded, connected, in a world where I think we've gone a bit woo off balance. You know, I do that because it's kind of like this head mind energy that's gone out of control, that we are constantly scrolling and overstimulating our minds and living in a very mind-driven society. And I say societies or cultures and societies around the world, really, there aren't many. There are still left that aren't doing this, but it's not so many now. Most people around the world are driven by technology, driven by the mind. Our whole education systems, everything is geared up towards strengthening the mind, not the heart. And that's not always the way it's been. And I instinctively knew that. I instinctively knew that there was heart missing in the world. I mean, look around you. It's not easy to find a lot of heart energy in the world. It's very, in fact, severed from the heart, I would say, in a lot of cases. And there's a whole story there that goes back to sort of Atlantis and times where there was a deliberate sort of disconnect between mind and heart, because if you keep people just in the mind, it's much easier to control people, and it's much easier to yeah, I mean, if you're in the heart, if you're actually in the heart, you can't go against someone in opposition. You cannot create a war with someone. You cannot treat people badly. You cannot be unkind. Because if you're in the heart, that's impossible. When you're in the heart, you know your connection to everything and everyone. When you're in the heart, you feel compassion and kindness. When you're in the heart, you feel love and joy and peace, when you're deeply in the heart space. And so you can see that that is obviously not running the show right now, and it hasn't been for a very long time. So I felt really cool to just do what I can in my own little way to bring more of that back. And so I created Heart Haven as a haven, a respite from the chaotic world of mind domination and constant sort of doing and achieving and learning, but without being tethered to the deepest wisdom within our hearts. And so when people come to my Heart Haven, it's really an invitation to come back home to their hearts and to their bodies. Because often when we're also running from our minds the whole time, we are actually disconnected from our bodies. And I believe that our bodies are our technology, our incredible technology that we've forgotten, or we've been, misled into thinking are just lumps of meat and flesh. But I believe actually the heart is incredible technology, powerful technology, even beyond the heart math. The heart math is just like a gateway into this world of the deeper technology of the heart. And I believe that when we tap into the absolute wisdom of the heart, we connect to our soul wisdom and the memories that we hold deep within our bodies, and the technology we hold in our bodies, the wisdom we hold there. And when we start to come back more to that place, we feel more in our truth. It's like that's where our truth lies. That's where we access our intuition. That's where we are able to be in our true state of connection before we all became more disconnected. And in truth, we're never actually disconnected. We just perceive we're disconnected. But so when I invite people into the heart haven, it's really inviting them home to themselves. It's really a way of inviting them back to their bodies, back to their hearts, back to their soul wisdom, their body wisdom, to feel more grounded, settled, and safe. And from there, magic happens, because once you're in the heart and you're able to come back here more and more and more, and that you call it heart brain coherence, because then the mind is joined again to the heart. It's not going off doing its own thing. And everything is back in connection. We're back in connection with our bodies. We're back in connection with each other. We're back in connection with the earth, with the cosmos, with all that is, and because it's all here within us.
I resonate so deeply with what you shared, and I do highly recommend to every soul that is feeling or resonating with this to look into the heart haven. It really is magical. You cannot put into words what happens when we enter this space.
Thank you, Janine. And that's really interesting, because the other beauty of this is when we do it as a group, and this is a free offering, by the way, that I've been doing for a year, that when we're in this group together, our heart energy does join, even though we might be in all sorts of locations around the world. I mean, people come from all around the world. What was it last week? Australia, Hawaii, America, Germany, I mean, all over. And we still connect at a heart level, because we are all in connection. We're not separate. And so when we join together as a group, we get this magical, amazing, beautiful heart energy of the group. And it's just really palpable, isn't it?
It is. I cannot put into words. You just have to experience it. You just have to experience it. It's impossible to put this magic into words, but yeah, it's one of the most magical experiences ever. Oh, beautiful. Before we dive more into your gifts and all the magic you carry inside of you, I would like to ask you, for all the souls that are just trying to feel into their hearts, or coming home into their hearts. We know it's a big step to take. It's a big door to open, or a portal to cross through, and it can be it takes a lot of courage to experience the world from a heart space, because like you said, a lot comes up when we enter our bodies fully. Do you have a recommendation or something you would like to share about that can help people or souls to have the courage or to access this portal?
I'm really glad you brought that up, Janine, because that's a very important point. And yes, it can be very difficult to actually re-enter the heart and come back home to our bodies, especially if we experience trauma, which many people have on some level. And so it was a very gentle tiptoeing in for me. And that's why I trained in the trauma sensitive aspect of HeartMath, because I realized that it is a delicate practice to come back to the heart. you need a lot of tenderness and compassion, and to go really slowly and gently, because yeah, it took me a long time to be able to go into my heart space truly and stay there. And so I always recommend micro dosing, if you like. I'm a big fan of the micro maneuvers. You know, you don't just, you know, a lot of meditation practices which I had to go away from. To me, if you've experienced trauma, it's like going into this what looks like a beautiful clear lake, but actually it's icy cold and you're out of your depth. It's like diving straight in the deep end, and you're like, ah! And you can just re-traumatize yourself, because you know you need to it's true. It's like, and so many, that's why I came away from a lot of these practices, because they really were encouraging either more transcendence and dissociation from the body, or going like a lot of the mindfulness ones of coming in and doing the body scanning and things like that. When I started doing body scanning, my body stopped there. It's like, nope, we're not going there. We're not going there, because there was too much pain there. And so, yes, we have to be really gentle. And that's why I always encourage people to go very gently and to only do what they can. And that's why into my heart haven, I always integrate a bit of nervous system regulation work as well. And I do a little bit of things like orienting and, you know, gently connecting with the body. And you don't have to close your eyes, and you don't even have to touch your body. And I always say, but if you feel uncomfortable at any point, stop. And it's designed to be a gentle process where you don't have to dive right in the deep end. And we just start to bring in things like gratitude and compassion. But I always say, be gentle with yourself. If emotion comes up, or if you feel like you can't go there, sit out and just be in the energy, because just being in the energy of the group is enough to sort of start to feel that energy of the heart. And because I've reached a level where I can sort of transmit this heart consciousness, I can sort of hold a container within the heart haven where people can sort of nestle in that energy and feel safer. Most people say they feel really safe when they come to the heart haven. And so I've sort of cultivated that space, as that's why it's called the haven. So people, if they do feel troubled and disconnected from their heart, it's a gentle introduction back. And over time, you will get there. And even now, sometimes I go through times where I'm doing the heart math and I'm like, oh, I feel really constricted here. What's going on? And then I go deeper, because I can now. And I'm like, oh, there's still some deep pain held here. You know, this pain held here can go back lifetimes and generations. And so it's a real process, you know, it's a gentle process of meeting more and more what we're able to, a sort of gradual descent back into the body. And I feel that a lot of people I work with are highly sensitive and empathic, and generally are quite open and in the upper centers. And so actually it's actually quite difficult, and like as it was for me, to come back into the lower centers of the body, you know, to feel in your pelvis, to feel in your legs and your feet. And so it's a gentle process of coming back home and allowing yourself to be in the body, because I believe that even though we don't become attached to our bodies, you know, we are more than our bodies, but we're here right now in this physical experience. And so we're here to come bring our light back into our bodies and inhabit our bodies, and know that we can feel safe here, and we can belong here, and we can, in fact, not just we're here for this. I believe that it's the sensitives and the starseeds, the ones who have felt just like I explained, that we don't fit in, that we're not cut out for this world, we're too sensitive, we're too open. That energy is exactly what the world needs once we've healed, or once we start healing, because that immense, beautiful heart energy and that openness is what the world needs, but in a grounded way. And so when we can come back into our bodies and really feel grounded and connected to the earth, we can actually truly be who we're meant to be here. We don't keep bouncing out and going off in all sorts of places. We can be sensitive and be here. We can be the sort of embodied empath and the grounded starseed. And it is a journey. And that's what I am here to help people with, because it is a journey that I went through without the support And I still feel a lot of sensitive people don't realize that they're here for something important, and they are stronger than they really think they are. And their energy and their essence is exactly what is needed to bring to the world right now.
Wow.
Not our energy, you know, I'm saying as a we, really.
You deeply touched my heart by saying all of this. My gosh, I hope my goddess. I hope that,
And actually, why you said that, Janine, yes, my goddess, because that's another thing. This is a very feminine approach. This is something that has been cut out of history, right? The goddess has been cut out of history. And the feminine really is about the heart and the body and about being here. And so this is also a divine feminine way of being. And that's why this is not always a stillness practice, and very different from the traditional approaches that are more based on the masculine approaches. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but I feel called to help bring back more of the feminine way of awakening. And the feminine path is more of an embodiment. And it's about movement, it's about song, it's about dance, it's about expression, it's about taking up space here and allowing that life force through our bodies. And a lot of people are sort of, unfortunately, women have been walking around a long time disconnected from that life force energy. And so it's a beautiful return of the feminine.
it is.
So thank you for saying that. That was an important point.
It was an important point. I do feel that too. The movement and the coming back of the divine feminine energy. Yeah, we're on a great path as humans and on this earth and in all realms that we are in at the same time. So a lot of themes or topics we could dive into more, but I'm sure a lot of souls are curious about your gifts, to hear a little bit more about your gifts. And you said that you realized at one point that we are more on a really, really deeper level, and by accessing the heart, you opened, or we all open a portal into, I don't know, I would say like infinity, and accessing all the soul wisdom that you shared with us. And you do light language. Would you share a little bit more about when was the point that the light language entered your life, and yeah, what it all has to do with expressing your true essence, or your heart, or your soul?
Yeah, that's a really good question, because it sounds counterintuitive, because we often think, and people always say to me, well, don't you go up in meditation? And I say, well, no, I'll hardly ever go up. Because this process that I've been through, and of course I can only speak from personal experience, but my descent back into the heart, or you might sort of call it sort of incension in a way, like the whole ascension process, you know, feels like it's going outwards and up. And in a way we're reaching higher levels of consciousness, or more expanded levels of consciousness. But for me, all of my gifts, everything that I've been going through in my awakening process has come online the more I've been in my body, the more I've been embodied and in my heart. And so actually, when I started speaking light language, it was about a month after I'd started Heart Haven. And so it's interesting, when I started Heart Haven, I wasn't speaking light language. I had no idea. And I didn't introduce the light language to Heart Haven. So it's still quite recent, within the last year. It was, I can't remember when I started introducing it. It was a couple of months after I started speaking the light language, I felt to bring it through, or maybe a few months. Because at first I was figuring out what on earth this was, or not on this earth it was. But I'd started a free dance practice every day, which I've now realized it was such an important part of my own soul journey, to be able to feel I could freely express myself. Part of my own human history and my soul's history has been a lot about needing to express myself. And I now know more that comes from my Lyran origins, because where a lot of my Lyran lifetimes, which is my main a main part, let's say, of my soul stream is Lyran, and that I just even heard the other day how light language and song and heart is really important to these Lyran aspects. And I was like, yes, that makes sense. I didn't know any of this at the time, so it makes sense to me now how when I started to just sing and dance more, this enabled me to connect with the deeper wisdom of my soul and the memories stored within. And so entering the heart, contrary to what you might think, coming more deeply within, accessed more expansiveness. It's like the more I came into my heart, the wider I could go, which would seem the opposite. You'd think you had to kind of reach somewhere and try and go through these steps to ascend to this location or to do special practices. And maybe that is the path for some, but it wasn't for me. For me, it was a deeply feminine path. And I started doing my dance practice, and shortly after I was just doing my spiritual practice one day, which is, by the way, mainly standing up and moving. It's not I do sit in stillness a lot, and there was a time in my journey where I was doing a lot of sitting, but it evolved. And one day it just literally came on like that. It came out of nowhere, and I didn't even really know what it was when it started, and I had to sort of Google it and talk to some friends.
Wow.
And I realized, it's what we call light language. And I started speaking and moving my hand movements, but not just one or two words. I mean, it came like from nothing to, it was like someone turned, it's literally like the tap was suddenly turned on. And I was like, oh, this is interesting. And every day since that day, I have been speaking it and using my hands. And it's so fascinating to me that this tap was turned on. I felt like it was an activation, and it was very interesting because that just brought back a memory. When I first started, the day I started speaking light language, I happened to across this a video on YouTube with this woman that spoke light language, and she was doing some kind of just talk. And at the end, she did a little light language transmission, and I was like, oh, that's what I do. That's what I'm doing. And I didn't know. I had no context a lot of my journey for any of this. It's been very much an inner journey, my journey, not from reading, not from studying. It's been like an unveiling, an unraveling of what's already within. And it had to be a personal journey going within, because it had to be something that truly came from my heart. And I always feel that the light language even comes from my heart, or comes through my heart. Often when I'm really deep in my heart, I will just start speaking light language. I don't have to connect or do any processes or open a channel or go anywhere. It's literally here. And as I've been going through this process, I've realized the gifts that it holds, because everyone has, I believe everyone can speak light language, and it's kind of almost like our soul song or our soul communication, because it bypasses the mind. Of course, it's not translated through the mind. I don't think, from what I've learned, that light language even lights up the areas of language in our brain. It comes on a totally different level. And it is this pure connection and communication with our soul and with source. And as I started to speak more of the light language, I realized that this is not just an expression, it also does stuff. And and because I'd already been doing a lot of healing work with clients, the energy healing that I was learning through my own process, through all of the years I was just talking about of my spiritual initiations, where I was learning my priestess abilities and going in deep into the underworld, deep doing the shadow work and learning about all these energies that I was experiencing. I was starting to be able to do this work with others, because I would start to work with people who would be experiencing similar energetic problems or stuff going on. I was like, oh, that's interesting. I've been learning about this. And so when the light language came on, I realized that was all instrumental in part of my work, my priestess work, which is why I call myself a cosmic priestess, because my path is of the priestess, which was really being able to traverse different realms and bring light into darkness, and to really start to remove the distortion that's been placed around us as humanity. And that happens on multiple levels, in multiple ways. And so the light language acts as this sacred modality, really. It's like my own form of modality, healing modality, this tool and this technology through sound and vibration that can work with sacred geometry to work in multi-dimensions all at once. Because again, it always comes through the portal of the heart, which is pure neutrality, where I can be an absolute witness to whatever, and also traverse these different dimensions to bring these frequencies to wherever is needed at that time that is most needed. So it's a beautiful way, and everyone uses light language differently, but I feel like it's this amazing way of us bringing this cosmic wisdom and technology through the voice, through vibration, to heal at much faster, in fact, much faster ways and in much deeper ways than we can do with just our limited sort of human technologies, if that makes sense. Because obviously we're not just human, we're divine. But when we access this multi-dimensionality that we all are, we just have more available to us. And I feel like it's through my descent into the heart and me opening up my heart and healing these deep layers within me, I'm able to bring that pure frequency through that can help others really come back to the truth of they are, by removing everything they're not. And so my kind of work really works in different realms by removing things like ancestral patterns and trauma held from other lifetimes, and from a lot of distorted energies and intrusive energies. And there's so much playing out, and you don't need to understand it with the mind. The beauty with the light language is it just comes through and it does its thing, and it always is whatever is for the highest good. So you don't even have to worry about that. It's like, this is what Janine needs right now. Her higher self is working the process. This is the thread that we need to pull at this time. And it's like, if you imagine the flower of life, how everything is interconnected. It's like when the light language comes in, we're coming into one petal of the flower of life, and then that threads back through all the rest of the wholeness of the flower of life, if that makes sense. And also it activates, like the light language. Often people say to me when they listen, I mean, people seem to love listening to it.
Yeah.
You love it as well, right? And you can hear the different aspects coming through from my team and my higher self, and they're all working in different ways. It's like I feel like I'm not a singular when I'm doing it. I feel like I'm part of my team when I'm doing it. And it's like this team effort to unravel the untruths and to reinstill the truths, or unravel what's not true and what's obscuring it, so the truth can be revealed beneath, so we remember the truth within us. We start to get a remembrance. And even if people don't consciously remember, when they listen to me, they'll say, oh, it's like, somehow it feels familiar, or somehow it feels like there's something that's so like intriguing that calls them to it, and they feel like, so it's so much peace and so much love when they hear it, and can have very interesting experiences during the process or following the process. And often people can't put it easily into words because it's not a linear process. It's not from the mind, and so we find it hard. We want to translate it, we want to make meaning out of it, but it's a much deeper, broader, wider, expansive experience than that. And we can unravel so much of the untruths that have been woven into our existence with this beautiful vibrational technology, and rethread the truth of who we are. And so always my intention and prayer for all of this is that we just all come back to the remembrance of the truth of who we are, and remove all that we're not. And of course, this really is the process of awakening and ascension anyway. So I feel like I'm not the only one. There are many others who are being ignited or initiated or activated into their gifts, which are always here, here. And so collectively, we are really shifting. I mean, also this works because it really doesn't work in linear time. We work with the earth energies. A lot of times I've been feeling like I'm doing grid work, and really strengthening the crystalline grid to hold a high frequency and anchoring these light codes. not just throughout our physical vessels and our energy fields, but through the collective as well. And of course, as I might work with one person, as they heal, then they're healing their ancestral lines, they're healing the karmic patterns, they're healing their multiple lifetimes. So it's really a multidimensional way of healing that is helping heal the collective and helping us all come back to the truth of our divinity and the truth that we are these powerful beings and we hold this technology within us. We've just forgotten. And so I believe, like, in the next, well, goodness, I don't know, I can't put a time frame on this, but I feel like more and more of us are coming into that remembrance. It's time for us to remember more of the truth of who we are, and that we're vast, infinite beings, and the power is within us. It's not outside of us. And so I'm learning as I go. I haven't got it all figured out. I'm still discovering aspects of this and going through the journey. And I'm sure, like, in a year's time, if we were to chat again, I'd be bringing more information through as I remember it, because it's like, you know, peeling off the layers that have been hiding the truth. It's happening more and more. I'm like, oh yes, oh yes, oh yes.
Wow, thank you so much. I really resonate with everything you said. But it's all with you, it's, I don't know, I feel I have a very special connection to you, and I can only speak from my perspective. But yeah, working with you or being in the Heart Haven has changed. It's so hard to put that into words, but it changed a lot of things on a very, very, very deep level. So, wow.
Yeah, your experience was quite interesting, Janine. I don't know if you want to share a like hint of some of what you experienced. Like, you don't have to, but you know, just because it is interesting what you experienced, like the other past lifetime stuff, and that you have things happening in your dreams. It's like so many levels and layers are reached through this vibrational sound technology and light technology that is unfathomable to the mind, really, but you feel it and you experience the changes in your life because of it.
Well, I share a little bit, a short story about the first experience that I had in the Heart Haven. So, first of all, I felt safe, really, really safe for the first time, and I allowed myself to just trust and let go when I entered your space, or the space that you create in the Heart Haven.
Yeah, it's lovely.
Which, yeah, it is. It was the first time for me to not send things out and just receive whatever was important to receive, which is also the feminine aspect of things, is just to receive.
Yes.
So yeah, I got to experience the Heart Coherence and the light language that you share the last 10 minutes of the Heart Haven. And I had this I will never forget that. I had this experience in my dream where something that was bothering me for half a year, or a few more months than half a year, and my neck was straightened. It was kind of it just got healed in my dream. And I woke up the next day being like, oh my God, this was bothering me for so long, and no doctor or anyone could do anything. And then I joined the Haven, and I was like, oh my gosh, if this is possible, what else is possible? You know what I mean? So yeah, for everyone that's yeah, feeling or resonating with everything you said, you do offer one-on-one sessions. Maybe you can share with us, or with the souls that are listening to this, where we can find you, or where they can find you. And
yeah, thank you, Janine. I really appreciate you sharing that, because it does sort of illustrate, because it is hard to put into words, because it's not a linear thing, and that is, you know, and you just, once you experience it, you kind of get it. And again, I don't feel like I'm doing anything to people. I just feel like I'm bringing through these codes that resonate deeply and do these wonderful things at a deeper level for people. And lots of others are doing it as well, and I just feel grateful that this gift is coming through me as well, so I can be of service. And I work with people in different ways, so I try and make something available to everyone. Of course, the ultimate is to work with me for a few months where I can mentor people, hold space and a container for people to really work through a process of something they might have been going through for a long time. But also I do recorded light language transmissions for people who just want a quick clearing or something, because sometimes you can feel like, oh, something's off here, and you might not need a whole series of things, but you might just want something that can just get in there. And the light language is really great at getting in there, to that bit that's sticky, and loosening that up and untangling the web, if you like. And I'm also actually just at the moment creating a series specifically for sensitives that I just downloaded one day that I felt really called to create, which isn't quite finished yet, but it will be in the next month or so. And that will be an online recorded thing that will be really available to people, which is, so much is coming through for this. It's called the Sensitive Soul Self-Mastery series, and it's a 3-part series of videos that really help take the sensitive from a place of, and I call the sensitive, sensitive. I think if I just use the word sensitive, people will know. If you call yourself an HSP, a highly sensitive person, or an empath or a starseed, you will know. To help really go from that feeling of that sensitivity being a weakness, and you're not strong enough, and you don't know who you are, and being sort of in this state of smallness, through a journey of knowing your power, of releasing all those old programs and things that have kept you feeling that, into really rising in your strength and bringing your gifts to the world. Because I feel like I said before, we're the ones who are going to make a real difference. And really, we are the ones who are the spiritual warriors. And it doesn't make sense, because we don't want to resonate with the word warrior. And it's not about warrior as in going to war. It's really just standing up for love and having that strength within us, and the strength of the heart, and the courage of the heart, like you beautifully mentioned. Because yes, the heart is about love and joy, but it's also courage to overcome fear and to move through fear. And that's been a massive part of my journey. And so I really want to help others who just feel like they're constantly running this kind of fear all the time, and anxiety that's keeping them from fully being in the world in an empowered way. And so a lot of my work is really helping sensitive souls to develop that courage and strength to be fully them in the world, in their authenticity, and to be more embodied and grounded, and stand up for themselves, and to hold space, to take up space in their sensitivity, because I feel like the world is changing, and we are instrumental in that. And so we need more strong sensitives in the world. And that doesn't mean changing who we are. It doesn't mean like toughening up. It doesn't mean any of that. It's more of a remembrance of the strength we are as sensitives, and healing the wounds around that, which is, well, the light language is beautiful for that, because it works so much, clears so much at once of all the falsehoods that have kept us feeling weak and small, and all the other lifetime dynamics that might be going on as well. So that's another program. And of course, I do that on a one-to-one level as well. And you can always book a one-to-one, just one-off session with me if you want to explore, work with me further. And I always have my free offerings. I am on YouTube, and I bring something usually every week with free transmissions. And within the Heart Haven, as you mentioned, although I didn't start it with the light language, I now do have a 10-minute, it's 20 minutes of meditation or the heart coherence, and 10 minutes of a light language transmission for whatever the group most needs. And that, as you've explained, can be quite deep in itself. So there's something for everyone.
There is, and for everyone that is listening, you can find all the links in the description box below, so you can check out everything that this beautiful earthy star being Priestess is sharing with the world, because it is life-changing. It is life-changing, and I'm very, very thankful that something led me to your heart space, or to the Heart Haven.
Me too.
It changed me. Thank you so much, Emily, for having the courage to do what you do and for stepping into your power, because I know it takes a lot of courage and a lot of work to be or embody what you embody in this world. And thank you for holding the space. Thank you for leading as this great example of the healed empath, or a strong, embodied, highly sensible person. It's amazing to see and feel that this is possible from a heart level. So thank you from my heart. And thank you for coming here and sharing all of the wisdom that you shared today. Thank you.
Thank you, Janine. I'm really grateful for this opportunity. It means a lot to me. I'm so grateful we connected too. We definitely have a heart and soul connection. And yeah, it's beautiful, and I really appreciate having this opportunity to share this, because there's too many of us who are still stuck in old patterns. And as I said, I still am learning and evolving and growing. I haven't got it all sorted, but I have gone through a lot, and I want to share my voice just to know people aren't alone in this. And we are stronger than we think we are. And part of this awakening process is going through a very, a lot of ups and downs, and it is meeting the shadows. It is how we develop our strength, and you don't have to go through it alone.
I feel this so deeply. Thank you, Emily. I have so much love in my heart for you.
And likewise.
You are so amazing. Okay.
As are you, Janine, as you're bringing your light and your gifts to the world.
Okay, beautiful beings. Like I said, everything, you can find everything in the description box below. And yeah, thank you, Emily, for being here. And maybe we'll talk another time in a year or two.
Yeah, that would be interesting, wouldn't it? Yeah.
It would be. It would be.
Because everything's happening so fast these days. It would be very interesting to see what has evolved.
Yeah. See where we are on that point in time in the future, or wherever. Okay. Thank you.
Love and blessings. Thank you so much, Janine.
So much blessings to you too. You know that I love you.
Love you.